Hey everyone, welcome to my new tutorial. Today I want to show you how to make a cool game animation like this that could be used as an icon animation or in some game cutscene or something like that. And if you enjoy it, please don't forget to leave a like, it will really help me. And if you're new to the channel and you want to see tutorials like this in the future, please hit that subscribe button and the bell button additionally if you want to get notified when I release something new. And if you're new to the world of 3D and Blender, and you want to become a 3D illustrator, go and check out my courses that are carefully designed to teach you beginner and intermediate skills in quickest and most effective way. For example, with the new Ultimate 3D bundle, you can go from simple cubic designs all the way to full character illustration in a matter of weeks. So if you're interested, please go check out the link in the description. Let's jump right into empty Blender file, and first we'll need to model that question box that you know from the Mario games probably. So let's just rotate this, and we'll start by adding some bevel to the default cube. So let's go to the modifiers tab and let's add a bevel modifier. And I really like this, so I will just increase this chamfer a little bit and leave it like that. And what you can do additionally is to add another bevel modifier right on top of that and increase the number of segments and reduce the amount so you get some smooth transitions there on the edges. And right now in Blender 3.3 you can just right click and shade auto smooth. Before you would need to go into the object data properties. Right now you can just increase to 180 degrees right here, and now go to the shading and enable harden normals, which will make the surfaces more smooth and nice. And now in the geometry tab I will switch this to arc because I will be doing some boolean cuts here. And let's disable clamp overlap so we can see if our geometry starts to break. So that's the beveling, and right now we'll need to add some booleans. So let's press Shift A and let's add a cylinder, and I will reduce the vertices to something like 16. That should be enough. And now I will press Tab to go into the edit mode and press G then Y to move this here. Now R then X and 90 degrees. Let's confirm with enter and let's make this smaller and scale it on Y-axis, so S then Y, and let's scale it like that. And now I'll just push it inside a little bit and make it a tad smaller. And now let's press 1 on a numpad for a front view and let's just move it into the corner like this, maybe make it even smaller a little bit. And now we'll add some mirror modifier here and on the Z-axis as well, and let's add Y-axis. So now we have all of those cylinders right here. We can tab out, right click and shade smooth. And now I'll press Alt D to duplicate this and R Z 90 degrees, so we have it on all sides here. Now let's hold Shift, select both of those, and by holding Shift let's select the cube, and we'll hit Ctrl- on a numpad. But for this to work you need to have the Bool Tool add-on activated. You can find the name of the add-on in the description. If you have a trouble understanding me, just go into the Edit, Preferences, the add-on section and search for Bool Tool add-on. Just activate it, no need to download. And now if you press Ctrl- on a numpad, you should have these boolean cuts right there. And now only thing left is to move this bevel modifier below these boolean cuts, and you should have something like this in place. And now to make this a little bit more optimized, we'll switch this to the fast solver on the booleans. And to complete this box we need that question mark, so let's press 1 on a numpad for a front view, and you can download the image I'm using here in the description. Basically there are a lot of those, you can download whichever you want. This is just to have some blueprint for that question mark, and you can just go ahead and drag it right into Blender and just drop it here and press Alt G to reset its location. And now I won't be doing any blueprint setup, I will just enable X-ray here and press S to scale it down to match our box to something like this. And now we'll just trace the shape. So first of all let's place the cursor. I will select the cube here, tab into the edit mode and just hit 3 for face select. Select this front face and hold Shift S and snap cursor to select it, so it's here in the front. Now we can tab out and let's go back to the front view by pressing 1 on a numpad, and let's press Shift A and let's add a single vert. And again, if you don't have all of these options here, you need to go again into preferences and add-ons and search for extra objects add-on, and then if you activate it you should see all of these options here. And let's add single vert, and now I will hit 1 for vertex select, or you can do it here, and that's a very important step to do if you want to extrude that vertex. And now let's press G and move it right here, and I'll press E then Z to extrude it up. And now I'll press Shift D to duplicate it and press Z to lock it on a Z axis and move it here. And now E then Z again to extrude. And we'll continue like this until we have the whole object traced out. And you can see I'm going on the outside of the question mark, and you will see why just in a second. Now let me select this here and let's press Ctrl Shift B and bevel it like this. And now there's an easy way how you can extrude it inside to match this shape. Let me press A to select all, and first of all we'll extrude it on a Y axis. So let's press E then Y and extrude it like that. Now let's press A to select all and Shift N to recalculate normals just to be safe, and we can check whether these normals are pointing in the right direction. And now if we go back to the front view by pressing 1 on a numpad, we can press Alt E and extrude faces along normals and just extrude it like this. And you can see some of these edges are tilted, so we can press S to enable even scaling and do an extrusion like that. That should be enough. And now we can just select some of these individually, press G then X and move them in place. These as well. And just like that we have the whole question mark. And again we can press A to select all and Shift N to recalculate the normals. Now we can just get rid of that blueprint and disable the X-ray, and you have the whole box ready. Now I think these holes are a little bit too large, so let's go to the front view once again, tab into the edit mode, and I will just move them in place a little bit better and make them smaller. And you can see it changed on all of these objects because we pressed Alt D when we duplicated these Boolean objects. Now let's select all of these here, let's press Ctrl P and parent it to the box, make sure it was highlighted in yellow. So now we are able to manipulate it as one. And one last thing I want to do before I animate it is to go to the front view, press G then Z and move this up. And now right click and set origin to the 3D cursor so it sits down at the bottom. And now for the animation, all I want to do is for this box to just jump a little and land back, do some squish and stretch animation and some rotation there. So let's go to the frame 1 and let me expand this a little bit. And I will start by adding a keyframe for all of the transformations. So let's press I and insert location, rotation and scale right here. And now we can enable auto keyframe, and let's start blocking out the animation. So right here on the frame 10, I just want to prepare this for the jump. So it should like scale down a tiny bit like this and scale on X and Y. So let's press S again and Shift Z and scale it like this. And now we can just select the first keyframe and press Shift D and duplicate it on a frame 20. And we have something like this. But now as it goes back, it should start jumping around here. So let's expand this a little bit and let's find the Z location right here. And we'll press G and move it right here a little bit. And now let's move it to frame, let's say 30. And let's press G then Z and move it up like this. So this is how it looks like so far. We have this squish, then stretch it back and it goes up, and once it's up I want to continue the stretch a little bit on the Z axis. So let's go to the frame like 35 and let's press S then Z and scale it up like this. So it kind of stretches up at the top position. But it should be on its way down here already. So let's go to the frame 40. Let's hit N on the side panel. And right here, I will set the Z location to 0. And we have a new keyframes here. And now let's clear this Z location keyframe right here. So let's press X and delete keyframes. So right now this goes up, and as it stretches, it already goes down and lands. And as it lands, it should continue the compression. So as it goes down, it should start compressing right here. So we can go ahead and set Z scale to 1, or maybe we can go even lower a little bit, and now a little bit higher on X and Y, like this. And now let's just move 5 frames and reset the whole scale to 1. So we have something like this. Now let's play the animation, and I will reduce the end frame of the animation to something like 80. That should be enough. So let's look what we have here, and this is too slow, so we'll need to go ahead and switch this to 30 FPS animation. And right now we can see the animation goes smooth, so we have something like this in place. And of course we'll need to play with the graph editor a little bit, so let's expand this a little bit more, and I will press Ctrl Tab to switch to the graph editor. Let's expand the tracks here, and I will clean up first. So we are not doing anything with the X location and Y location, so I'll use X key to delete them. And we are not doing anything yet with the X and Y rotation, so let's delete those as well. And for the Z rotation, let's hide these and let's focus on that. You can see we are not doing anything, but there's a lot of keyframes that got created when we were using the auto keyframing. So let's press X and delete these keyframes, so we have only one in the beginning of the rotation. And let's hide it for now, and let's enable these. Again, let's press A to select all and period on a numpad to zoom on our graph. And one more thing, I will hit Ctrl Tab and disable auto keyframing just to be safe, and we are not creating any keyframes by accident. And let's focus on our animation. So you can see we have some squishy and stretchy animation here, but we need some more action there. So let's just select these keyframes and press G then X and move them closer here. And then, you know, we can use these handles to make them a little bit steeper right here. And right as this happens here, we need to be already jumping up, so we can move this right here. And it goes up, and then we'll need to move this here. And we'll need then jump to be a little bit faster. And we'll need the box to stay up a little bit longer, so let's just move these handles and make this animation curve like this. So you can see how it goes quickly in the beginning, and then it kind of lingers up there. And as it lands down, I think we should move this a little bit closer. And here, you know, you can just control these stretches by moving these points up and down, and try to mix them a little bit better by moving them on the x-axis, just like that, so you better match your movements. And here at the end we can change the interpolation of this keyframe of the Z scale, and by hitting T we can change the interpolation to bounce, and then just select the keyframe and move it a little bit away like this, so the first bounce lands here and we have some more. So this will look like that, there will be some bouncing. And I think this takes too long, so we can move it a little bit closer. Okay, let's preview our animation, and you can see after updating these curves, this is much more smooth, a little bit snappy, with those little bounces and with these curves not acting so smooth here and there. So I really like this so far. Maybe the jump is too long here, so what we can do is to select everything here and move it closer, and then move this slightly away and just reduce this tiny bit. Okay, I really like that. And now the last thing I want to add is a little bit of rotation, so let's disable everything here and let's add that rotation. And now we need to define where we want to start rotating, and I want to do that right here as we are bouncing off. So let's say something like, let's look from the front so we can see when we are leaving the ground, somewhere here at the frame 12. So let's press G then X and move this keyframe right here. And now I want to finish that rotation as we land right here on a 35. So let's press Shift D and move this keyframe right here, and now we'll move it 360 degrees up. So let's press G then Y and 360 and confirm. Of course, this is too high up because you can see on the left the range for this animation was set for the scale and location, so we can press A to select all and period to zoom in on this particular animation with a different range. And of course you can use normalize, so if you want to preview all of them, you know, the animation scale looks like this. If you choose normalize and then zoom in, you can see the range from -1 to 1, and that's just basically normalized movement where the values are compressed between -1 and 1. So let's preview our animation right here, and I can see quite a problem here. We made a mistake, nothing too much, but when I was setting the origin point, I had the cursor here in the front, which basically causes this rotation around that origin point. So we'll need to fix this by resetting the cursor to the world origin. So let's hold Shift S, reset to world origin, and right click and set origin to 3D cursor. So now this should act accordingly. So for example, if you run into a problem like this, you know you have to look at your origin point. So let's preview the animation once again, and I really like this. Maybe the smoothness of the rotation animation is just too smooth, so I think some more acceleration here in the beginning would be fine. So let's just move this handle right here so we have some more rotation in the beginning. Okay, I really like that. And right now the rest is basically just playing with those animation values, you know, finding the good values to animate and then adding the rest of the scene. So for example, we can add some plane here and extrude it and add some bevel modifier there as well to create some kind of a gaming platform or something like that. Let's shade this auto smooth as well and give this hard and normal shading. And now if we press 0, we have our camera view. We can press N and go to the view tab and check camera to view and just use our viewport controls to rotate the camera to our desired angle somewhere here, and don't forget to uncheck it. Now I will go to the output settings and change the resolution here and probably play with the camera. Press G then Z twice to move it a little bit closer, maybe just like that. And now let's collapse the sidebar. Let's go to the render settings and let's choose cycles here with the GPU and some denoising, and let's preview our scene like this. You can see we have the original light in scene right there, and I will just press X and delete it and press Shift A, and let's add an area light, some nice top-down light, and let's adjust the power to something, I don't know, like 350, and we can press G then Y and move it on the Y-axis so we have some more light in the front of our object. And now we can play with the background color and with the materials. So let's select the platform and let's, I don't know, add like a green color so we match the Mario game, and here we should give this a yellow color basically. And now we can press Shift A and let's add some background. So let's tab in, let's scale this up like this and move it down, and probably move it on X and Y axis as well, and maybe make it a little bit larger, and let's give this some color as well. Okay, and right now we can add that world color to give this some ambient colors as well, and go into the render settings, color management, and choose some contrast look and play with the exposure. And now we have our little animation. If you want this to look a little bit more dynamic, you might want to have the camera follow. So let's select the camera, press I to insert a location, and let's move this where the jump starts. So for example, frame 10. And now let's move to the top of the jump, press G then Z and move the camera up a little bit. Press I, insert location. Now let's go back to our land, select the beginning of the jump here, press Shift D and duplicate those, so you have some camera movement with your jump as well. So that's for the animation, and now if you want to render it, just go to the output settings and let's choose some output folder right here. Choose the file format to FFmpeg video if you don't want to render to still frames, and in the encoding section choose something like MP4 as a container, and now you can just go render animation, wait for your frames to finish, and you should have your animation. Now be careful, because when you go to the render properties, by default the samples are set to 4000, so for the animation I recommend something like 128 with the noising. That should be enough. So that's your animation, and I really hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, please leave that like, and again, if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe. Thank you all for watching and have a wonderful day.